that are having issues saying that their wallets haven't voted. Just about to add a feature today on heliumvote.com so that you can look at your positions and see which ones qualify for the voting rewards. So we should hopefully be able to get a better handle on these things going forward. Aside from that, engineering update on what's going out this month. Mostly a lot of bug fixes for the big HRP last month, but we're also upgrading to Anchor 31. We're on Anchor 28, which is really old and locks us to a Solana version of 1.16, whereas Solana right now is on 2.21 or 2.2.1. So it's we're long overdue for upgrading. For any of you that consume data from the blockchain, this is a really important one to pay attention to because when we upgrade, it changes the IDL on chain, which will break anything that's consuming it because the IDL had breaking changes going from Anchor 29 to Anchor 30. So just something to be aware of, and something that we've had to do a lot of engineering work to mitigate. That
One
and then
one thing to add there, Noah, is that we are. This doesn't affect Oracle data, so if you're an Oracle data consumer, it's not. This shouldn't change anything.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Just on-chain data. And the fix is pretty easy. You just have to upgrade your Anchor version and it'll interpret it correctly. What I suggest doing in the meantime, if you want to have zero downtime, is Anchor has an IDL convert function in the new version that can convert an old IDL into a new IDL. So you can actually upgrade your version, and then when you see that you've received an older version of the IDL, just convert it, which is a pretty useful way to handle it. So yeah, in terms of upcoming features, we've been kicking the tires on automated claims. So we've been able to claim massive wallets with like 800 hotspots in 5 minutes with this new tool that we built. So eventually going to be adding that to the wallet app and maybe a web UI, and you'll be able to both queue your wallet to get fully claimed and also put it on a like a schedule so it claims it every month or however often you want to do it and pay the transaction fees for it. The other thing that we'll be automating is position claims, so rewards that you get for delegating and voting, and those will just go off once a day automatically, so you also don't have to run those transactions and sign a bunch of transactions. We're effectively trying to get rid of all of the places where you need to sign a bunch of transactions and execute a bunch of transactions, because that is generally where we see the most issues and the most bugs. So, yeah. Did I miss anything, Abai?
No, you nailed it.
Okay, thanks for the update on what's been deployed. We'll come to the future deployments shortly. Mad Ninja, are you available to do an update on the existing hips that have been a long time in development?
Did you have a specific list in mind?
I think it's like 109, 118, 119.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Let me see here. So like 10, I think we ended up. Thank you for helping to process through them. Waveforms, very very helpful. I think we'll gonna talk to the foundation about 109 and what we want to do with the ability to boost indoor versus outdoor Wi-Fi separately, and just look at whether we should just not do any more work on boosting at all. 114 was implemented. 119, I think, was not implemented, but can be readdressed as part of an HRP if Andy's ready to have a talk about it again. 134 was implemented and can be closed. 118, we're gonna close because disco and verification mapping are sort of approached differently than the complications that were in especially the verification mapping side, is differently than phase one. So I guess HIP 118 can be closed as partially implemented, and we'll work with the mobile working group to get better clarity on what the approach to mobile and verification mapping is, in collaboration with like this Helium Mobile as a service provider, effectively supplying that data. So yeah, I think that covers most of the ones that we were processing over the last week or so.
Okay, great, thanks. We're going on to a foundation update now from Scott, if you're ready.
Yeah, hopefully the wind is not too bad. I had to step out of an event. Yeah, hello from Washington. We're continuing to win hearts and minds down here around Helium. So a lot of good sentiment, not just around Helium, defense sector in general. So excited about some of the traction we're making here on a number of fronts. Anyway, wanted to quickly give an update on, we haven't really had a chance to talk a little bit around how we're refreshing things around our capital program in general and how we're starting to deploy up more around grants. Sam can talk about a couple of projects that we have recently funded. But in general, so number one is for folks who haven't been to the foundation website in a little while, check out the refresh grants page to give you a little bit of a sense of what the priority areas where we are looking to deploy capital and fund around ecosystem growth are. High level, we still want to see things that are Helium native applications where we want to support the teams that are building novel use case things that are actively using the network. Especially in the IoT side, we're still excited about things around plug and play there, but obviously supporting new service providers on mobile is pretty important to us. Kind of given where things are in the market right now, we're very excited to continue supporting around strategic coverage. I mean, just to throw a number on it, I think Foundation has an eye towards, we would love to be, putting, I would say, between 15 to 20 million this year towards supporting more strategic coverage build out. So again, like folks, especially on this call, who are some of the most aligned in the ecosystem, come talk to us. We're not going to fund the 3 hotspots in your house, but to the extent that you can really help us in the regional areas deploy significant coverage, we do want to talk to deployment teams and where we can be supporting there and creating some subsidies in the sense that it does support any commercial provider on the network. Network enablement tools, Sam will speak to a little bit around that. Some of the education work we did, we really want to make sure that we are expanding the message around Helium, supporting teams in terms of device onboarding. So certainly really ramping up pretty significantly around we can deploying capital out into the ecosystem on things that are general network good. So if you've got ideas, anything in these specific focus areas, come talk to us. There's a form that's online. Otherwise, reach out to Sam and I directly. We can get some conversation started. And if we can put together projects, we're actively funding these days and want to make sure the community knows about that. Somewhat related, we haven't talked about it on community call in a while, but Foundation as a 501c6, we are an industry group. We do maintain membership to think about how we can expand and support decentralized wireless overall. One of the things that we're opening up to that we hadn't done in the past is we're calling it an enthusiast tier, so individual members joining rather than just commercial organizations. One of the things that we lean into members most on is the idea, again, like what is going to be the biggest net good for the ecosystem that we can fund, support, working directly with member orgs and non-member orgs alike, whether that is relating to coverage, whether that is around new applications for the network, how do we start to broaden the reach for Helium overall and where we can kind of start to get ourselves into new communities. Generally speaking, I'm looking at members and people who can participate on very much a feedback loop and help us kind of think about the best use of our capital. So for those that are interested, we tried to keep this as a relatively low barrier to entry. And we'll have recurring calls on a quarterly basis around this. So for folks who want to get a little more actively involved in that and have a little bit of input into kind of how we're spending grant dollars, happy to have you join and participate there. To that end, I'll actually pass it over to Sam since he has been kind of doing the nitty gritty on some of the latest projects we've been funding. So we can touch a little bit on what kind of stuff we've been focused on.
Yeah, as Scott mentioned, we've done a bunch of legwork to streamline our new capital program website operations. So just want to reiterate that we really are open for business right now for the right ideas. So please come talk to us. Just to highlight a few that I'm excited about that we've working on earlier. So like on the network enablement and protocol development side, recently funded a grant for a new version of the Helium Gateway client that's designed to handle fleets of gateways. So our existing client can be deployed in a cloud setting, but doesn't disambiguate when multiple gateways are forwarding their traffic to it. And this I talked to a bunch of our existing service providers, and this becomes cumbersome for handling commercial fleets of gateways and prevents the onboarding of fleets of LoRaWAN gateways. So we're really excited about the impact that one will have. Funded an Oracle Data API to streamline access to that type of information for deployers and other interested parties. We've done some other stuff, but just touching on education and awareness, huge priority for us. So I think some of you know we funded things like a demo dashboard to help spin up your own LNS and visualization of your LoRaWAN sensors. We have an upcoming 25-part podcast on LoRaWAN and Helium's role in elevating the decentralized wireless community. And this will be more targeted at folks in the IoT industry that might be less familiar with Helium. We're also close to another engagement for a podcast that will give more frequent updates and insights into what Helium is doing at a higher level for an audience that might be a little bit more abstracted away. You think the investor crowd, things like that. Super excited about that one. I think there was a great reaction to the podcast that Armin did with Mario and Mark a few weeks back. Sponsoring representation for Helium, LoRaWAN, and decentralized wireless at upcoming events. Nikki may touch on that a little bit more, like Hanover Mess. And yeah, we're obviously thinking very, very hard, on the mobile side about creative ways to fuel the expansion of useful coverage in dense, high dwell time areas. We have indoor, outdoor hotspots. We have Helium Plus, and I think there's a lot of community-specific initiatives that could be really exciting that we could do there. So we'll have a bunch more to come. So I think that's what I'll highlight for now. The other thing I also wanted to quickly note is you all may be familiar with the YouTube series Helium Hacks that was done back in the day. We want to reboot that in the coming month on a monthly basis to see how it goes, to start highlighting a bunch of our service providers and all the cool things that are happening. So that's the update for now.
Okay, Sam, thanks a lot. If you have any links to things you'd like to provide, can you put them in the chat, please?
Yes,
I think the
will do.
applications. Yeah, thanks, great. And we'll pass over carrying on about events. British Guy, can you give us an update on the events that we've been at and what we're going to be at in the next month?
Sure thing. Let's give a run through of where we've been and what's coming up. It's been a busy March, which is great. Started off March 11th to 12th with the USC blockchain event where Frank Wong went alongside Ariel from HiveMap and Emmett from Solana Mobile, speaking about all things deepin and crypto at the USC event there. If you go to our new helium.com/roadmap page, what we're doing now is putting all the content and any sort of like shout outs and things on that website. So you can easily find it going forward. When possible, we'll update that, and I'll drop the link in at the end of the call here. Obviously, saying USC, shout out, Juju Watkins. We're hoping for a swift recovery. Who would have thought I'd be up with my US basketball knowledge? But there we go. Hope she recovers soon from a foul that happened there in the recent game. After that, we were at DAST 18th to 20th. The team were in attendance. There was a great shout out, if you missed it, from Kathy Wood speaking about DeepIn and what's going on in the industry there. Again, that's linked on our website. I'll drop that link in at the end, but go and take a listen to that. I think that's very insightful and pushing for interesting things in the future. The mobile team also at South by Southwest. If you're watching the socials, they were here, there, and everywhere over the 5 days. They took it over different places for the week. Takeover days. It was a busy event, reaching a different audience outside of the blockchain and technology. So that was pretty good. Engagement on the ground. People seem very interested with the product and different conversations there. And so then upcoming, as Sam mentioned, we've got Hanover Messe, where the Heliotics and Upbeat team will be showcasing IoT. They're showing asset tracking, predictive maintenance solutions, and smart factory applications using the Helium network. So that would be interesting. On the website, it's linked to where their booth location is. I'll drop that link. Yeah, you've got that. You've got it. Sam's dropped it in there for us, which is, that's to Grant. but that'll be busy. As Sam mentioned, we can support these companies. If you're going to events, if you need support, and if you think there's a useful use case, sort of like reach out and let us know and see where we might be able to support. Also, the big event coming up, Token 2049 Dubai, obviously, and that's going to be starting over at Staking Summit. Obviously, with so many different side events, we'll be taking the team over there. Abai and Scott will be with me as we speak all things deep in crypto there. We're partaking conversation at Staking Summit on the 29th of April. There's a mega Solana mixer where we're taking over Kaima Beach. If you're going to be flying over to Token, let me know, and I'll make sure you get an invite so we all can hang out in person there. That'll be great. Wednesday the 30th, Abai will be taken to the main stage, and Scott will be speaking at the Solana Snapshot event, which is a great event run by Mark from Wrap Events, and all links will be dropped on our socials. So keep an eye out on that. And there's even more. Hack Singapore. There's many different speaking events happening in Token 2049. So keep an eye on the socials, and all that will be posted because it's going to be a busy week as ever. Let me drop in this link here, helium.com/road trip, where you can see all our upcoming events. And like I say, if you want to attend event, if something's going on, if you want to speak anything events, you can always reach out to me at hello@helium.foundation, and also just ping me a private message in Discord or Telegram or whatever, and let's see what we can do together. All in all, it's a busy time, and let's go. Busy year ahead.
Thanks, Nikki. We're going to move on to the working group updates next. Boris can't make it today, neither can Joey, so we've got updates from the other members of the groups. First, we've got a mobile update from Jay, M, and Ferriby. I don't actually have anything on 142, an update for that. So unless someone on the call has one, I don't personally have any update at the moment.
Yeah,
so Jay,
no specific updates on that one. So we should, yeah, it's fully deployed at this point. And I think at this point we've gotten after most of the bugs that we found around the governance side. Actually, we're talking about 142, aren't we?
Yeah.
So on 142 inversion capital, sorry, I mixed up the numbers. Yeah. No specific updates there as well. It is approved as a service provider. HNT hasn't been staked yet, and I think the particular service provider, they are sort of going through a process right now, a commercial process to acquire an asset. So I think that's the current focus for them.
Okay, thanks. Jay, do you want to do everything but hit 143?
Yep, sounds good. Hey, everybody. Since our last community call, a couple of things to flag for everybody from the mobile working group. First, just because it hasn't been mentioned yet, at least I haven't heard it, the CBRS trade up deadline is now passed. That the last day for that was February 28th. So what that means is not only can anybody who operated a CBRS radio no longer trade up and get Wi-Fi units in return, it also means that the mobile network is entirely Wi-Fi at this point. So that was a pretty big milestone for us, and I just wanted to be sure that we mentioned it here. Also, since the last community call, we had an election for our members. Just posted an image in the chat. We're happy to welcome Farabee and JB to the group. Jay Hella, myself, and Fizzy were reelected. Boris, Zero Tweets, is going to continue to serve on the working group, but as a rep from the service provider, as Helium Mobile's representative on the working group. And just a reminder for everyone too that we meet weekly here on the Discord server. It's 2 p.m. Eastern time every week. we not only do we discuss governance issues, economic, technical things. One of my favorite parts of the call every week is our longtime member Keith. We jokingly refer to it as a fireside chat, but he asks. We set aside some time at the end of our calls for him to ask deployer specific questions. So if you are installing mobile hotspots, tune into that because there's always good advice given there. Looking at my notes, I think that's really the only, those are really the only updates. We do have a couple of other HIPs in the works, so we'll get updates from those from others shortly. HIP 142 did pass 99.68% of the vote, so safe to say that was an overwhelming result there. And we look forward to Santi or his rep joining the working group at some point soon as the representative from Inversion Capital.
Thanks, Jay. Herbie.
All right, well, I can take over HIP 143. So that's been hanging around unchanged for a while, and a few people have been worried that this is holding up Inversion. That's not correct, as we just hear. Inversion is currently working on figuring out which MVNO they actually want to buy and then buying it. They initially wrote HIP 143. The point was, as it was said, that they just need clarity that they will be able to buy the data at a reasonable price for the market. And the initial draft of HIP 143 was written by Inversion and had the provision that the data price from the Helium network to mobile network operators would be set based on the average price that network operators in that geographic region pay to MNOs. So what other MVNOs would pay to the MNO. And then the idea was, well, in the US, the average price is around $2, and in Mexico, it's probably less, like $1 or $1.50. So then where the Helium network charges 50 cents in the US, they should probably get a cheaper price in Mexico. And so maybe that would be like 25 cents per gigabyte. And various things turned up, like it seems actually very difficult to figure out what is this average price. And there was a lot of discussion, and then we didn't hear much about it. And we discussed with Mad Ninja as well whether we could just do something completely different. And in the end, the suggestion now is let's forget about this programmatic setting of a price, and why don't we just let Nova decide? And originally, Inversion Capital was saying they need to have some sort of certainty on the price so they can figure out that they can make it work economically, but apparently they've negotiated with Nova, I would imagine, and everybody feels cool now. So the economic question for Inversion doesn't seem to be a big issue now. And instead, the current proposal is, since Nova is the only one who actually knows what's going on and who's done all these other negotiations with carriers and is handling all the billing, let's just let them decide for Mexico and for other regions. So basically, Boris wrote a completely new version of HIP 143, and we've edited that based on some discussions. It's currently posted. You can go see it. Waveform just posted a link. And it just says anybody who uses the Helium network will pay whatever price Nova decides. So currently that's 50 cents. And we give Nova the authority for initially 1 year to be extended maybe for a second year if no other proposal is decided, to just set whatever network price they think makes sense. And On the one hand, the point is that Nova is controlling the entire infrastructure anyway. They control the oracles, they control everything else. There are no decentralized oracles. We have to trust Nova anyway. And then on the other hand, what is the motivation of Nova? They want to drive the build out of the network. And in fact, they hold a lot of HNT, so they want to drive revenue to HNT. So in that way, the community and Nova are basically pretty aligned. We all want to spend as much money as possible for data transfer. So that means Nova is motivated to negotiate good deals with carriers to burn as much HNT as possible. And since we don't understand anything about pricing anyway, let's just let Nova decide. So that's what the current draft of HIP 143 says. And so far, I think most people who've been involved in the discussion are pretty aligned with that. But if not, the HIP channel is open to discuss the new version. I think Boris's draft went up 2 days ago, and now we have a version that's taken input from various people that just went live now. So everybody go read it. And maybe we can bring that to a vote. So I think that's where we stand right now on HIP 143.
Thanks, Chris. Moving on now to an update from Neil. Yep. Thanks, Neil. On the IoT working group. Take it away, Neil.
Oh, right, you can hear me okay. Yeah, so we've welcomed 2 new members to the IoT working group this period, Jubin and Miroslav. You might know them from Heliotics. Jubin also runs a large network in Germany and runs an OUI. So it's great to have their views on the IoT working group. We've been progressing with grants. There's a new one in from a company called Sensor ETA that's looking to deploy WeatherXM gateways in Jamaica for hurricane monitoring. So it's a really good publicity cause to show how the network could be used. And in the IoT, they generally talk about a smart city, but this would be smart country, which would be incredible. So really showing how the Helium network could be used. There's also a new grant in from Moken looking to seek some support for their Explorer, which is the de facto tool for people on desktop. There's some ongoing Nova work, and I just want to list out what that is. So moving OUIs on chain. OUIs are the ability for people to add devices to the network. You need to run an OUI to do that. And allowing them to do that on chain will allow them to create and manage everything all on chain, whereas it's currently taking up foundation time to onboard new OUIs. We've also had word from Frenchman that he's discussing this idea of a multi-buy system where the end OUI can decide which traffic to buy and which to not. It solves one of these long-term problems as well, because we can introduce a blacklist of hotspots. So if you're an existing deployer, you have the problem that if you have coverage already deployed in there, you don't want to buy it from Helium 2. So they could actually blacklist hotspots in an area so that doesn't affect them. So it's more likely that existing providers will join the network and want to use it more because they can use these options. Now, there's been a lot of talk in the past couple of months about seat fees and IoT pricing, and we did have a draft together called seat fees. But there's been a lot of feedback from providers and users that we will lose traffic. And it's just there's a lot to go on it without a lot of information. And one of the jobs that Nova are taking on is statistics around what is using the network, devices using, what's being witnessed, and what other OUI data are we seeing on the network. Because there's a large proportion of LoRaWAN in use that is not being used over Helium, it's not being paid for. So we can get those statistics out, it's the quickest path to a lot of data transfer. And we could show providers where their data is being used, and they could choose areas that they don't have coverage in to augment their coverage and put a lot more data through the Helium network. So that statistics work is going to be incredibly vital to us deciding how we go ahead with pricing. So having that information and making an informed decision is the most important thing. So whilst it has been on hold, the work is still going on. And the final point I just wanted to talk about was the hotspot onboarding costs. We know manufacturers aren't filling up their DC balances to pay for these onboards. We know that there are a lot of people that come in of buying a new hotspot off of eBay or having a pile of new hotspots and it being cheaper for them to use them, or the manufacturer doesn't have any credit, so they end up paying $50 to onboard a hotspot onto the network. So we've decided that we're going to reduce those costs, and it's been added to the HRP. The new cost for an onboard would be $10, and to change the location of a gateway would be $1. So it's a lot cheaper to onboard than the network. We talked about the pricing around gaming, and it's believed that this is not stopping gaming in any way. Having the onboarding costs at $40 makes no sense. It doesn't stop gaming. It's not counted for the utility score anymore. It's just a very high price. So we want to reduce that cost. So everyone with existing gateways that are still in box from older manufacturers that haven't paid their balances now may be more likely to onboard those devices because it's a lot cheaper. And just to say, in regards to that, data-only hotspots right now are 50 cents to onboard and 50 cents to set the location. So it's more in line with that kind of pricing. To get POC rewards, you need a full hotspot, which is $10 to onboard and $1 to set the location. And I think that covers everything.
I think so too. Yeah. Great. Thanks a lot, Neil. Next up is Italian Dude to cover. Reminds everybody about Helium Plus and what can be seen from viewing the deployments and future areas like Mexico in Helium World.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, a couple of updates here. Some reminders. Oh, can you hear
speaking,
us?
Mario.
Oh. Give me a second. No, my audio's weird. Okay.
No, we still can't hear you. You're going to have to leave the call and go to settings. Oh, I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can hear him too.
I don't know if the recording can hear him.
Can you hear me now, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes? We good?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Technology, this big unknown. Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to give an update on Plus and World and a little bit of a reminder first and foremost. So let's start from Plus first. So Helium Plus is our product name for what we've been referred to as brownfield or conversion of your existing Wi-Fi infrastructure. What does it mean? If you have a prosumer Passpoint compatible hardware, so Ubiquiti, Ruckus, Cisco Meraki, Aruba, Cambium, Fortinet, all those brands are eligible to be part of the Helium network and to be able to convert to be on the Helium network. So we call this Helium Plus. You can read more about it in the helium.com/plus page. The update there is that compared to, I think, even last month, what we did, right now there are two ways that you can engage with Helium Plus. The first way is to, if you happen to have a fleet that you want to convert into Helium, you can contact our team. There is a contact form in the page, and it will guide you through the process. However, if you want to experiment yourself, and you can get all the way to enable your Wi-Fi to offload Helium mobile subscribers, there is a guide on the page that will guide you through that process in a what you call a self-serve way. So effectively, every time that you want to experiment, you can get it all the way to Helium mobile offload there. But if you want to go to the next step, meaning being part of the carrier offload program. Carrier offload means that now you're offloading MNOs, like mobile operator subscribers and MVNOs, they're part of the Helium carrier flow program that you will have to contact our team in the contact form. Because of course there is a little more screening that needs to happen before we can submit those locations for carrier approval. So yeah, I guess on the one thing I wanted to say on the Helium Plus is a call for everybody in the community. I talked at length with Sam and Scott Foundation. There is a lot of hardware out there that is potentially compatible with Helium Plus. So if you happen to have the skill set and the knowledge to write guidelines for specific models, that's what we're doing at Nova. My colleagues Joey Padden is the primary on this. We have Ubiquiti, we have Aruba, we have, I think Ruckus is the next one that we'll have, but we're always looking for people that they are willing to help writing those guides. Of course, there is an opportunity also potentially for grants and things like that for people that help out. Again, we are looking for someone that is very skilled in the area and that wants to help. We're always open to help, because the thing that we are learning, of course, is that saying Cisco Meraki or saying Ruckus, it doesn't mean anything unless you qualify with what is the type of hardware that you have. Do you have an on-premises controller? You have a cloud controller? Do you have a RASEC proxy or not? So there is a lot of different flavors, and so the help is definitely welcome. The second part I want to say about Helium Plus, and then we'll move on World, is that if you happen to have contacts or inbound possible leads with big organizations, whatever they might be. Even maybe it's a managed service provider that manages shopping malls, or maybe it's a convention center, whoever that might be. If it is big, and when I say big, let's think about more than 100 units involved. There are ways that we can engage together with the Helium Foundation to help with the conversion of those places. Again, potentially grants and things like that. So if you happen to have any type of lead, please don't hesitate to contact us on the same helium.com/plus. You can contact the foundation. In general, get in contact with us, because we're doing whatever we can to scale that effort, which is being very successful so far. More than half of our hotspot deploy are converted to Wi-Fi, and if you go into top 10 hotspots, like 60% are actually from brownfield. So it's turned out to be exactly what we expected. That's good, but we need to accelerate there. Switching gears to World. Unless there is some question on Plus, just let me look. Okay, good. Switching gear on World. The team is always busy shipping new features. We've heard some requests from community about re-adding the HNT based stats in World. Right now it's very much network oriented, so we are discussing with the team where to put that information. Is likely going to be, I was talking to Abai just this morning about this and others, is likely going to be in the World page as a separate stats page. So stay tuned. This is being received, and we'll find a way to get those stats in there. Again, the balance is that we use World as a externally facing for people that are not necessarily just in the crypto world. So we want to make sure we don't get too technical in the main page. One thing that is coming, which I'm very excited about, is that there is new layers that Joey Hiller, which is the head of product for network, is working on World, that will represent data demand in World. Not too much to spoil here or leak anything yet, but hopefully we'll go live soon. The major question that we're trying to address here is, tell me where to put a hotspot. That's one of the things that I always heard, is always being asked in the mobile working group, and we're trying to asymptotically get there. And I think this new layers will get us there. So stay tuned for new updates on World. Mexico, we are about 60% of expansion zone. We have 191 tower sites out of the 315 that they will give us by mid-April. and those zones are available in Mexico, in the world to be looked at, and those are the guidelines for deployments in Mexico. As you know, there is a grant program, V Foundation, for 50% rebate as a grant for deploying in Mexico. So whoever wants and can take advantage of that, we are happy to shepherd that effort with Nova and Foundation. I think I covered pretty much everything. So unless there are other questions, I don't have anything else to add.
We've had a couple that maybe you could help answer, which is about temporary deployments at festivals or temporary locations of mobile hotspots. What do you recommend, or who could they contact if they're interested in deploying at a festival, for example?
So we're talking about temporary, like hotspots that get deployed and then they move on.
Yeah.
They move into the next festival. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that will work, because the way we submit those location with carriers, what we could think about it is, I don't know. It's a tough one. I'll be honest, it's a tough one, because we are refraining from submitting locations ahead of the hotspots bid there. This is something that we were asked to not do, and we are obeying to the guidelines from the carrier. So we can kind of like front load the submission. At the same time, we can submit when the hotspot is there, but as you know, it takes several weeks for them to approve or disapprove the hotspot. So it's a tough one. Let me think this through. But thank you for the input. I mean, we'll definitely think this through internally and see if we can do something about that specifically. Like, for example, to give you an idea for everybody, you guys know that we did some carrier offload program during the disaster relief for Helium in North Carolina, and those units are the only units that were okay to be floating. But even in that case, now they're asking us to shut it down, meaning to make it a more and a fixed one, because it's hard for them to track in this way. It's a good question. Let me think with the team and maybe give an update on the mobile working group call next week.
Okay, thanks. And I think one other that's probably been mentioned in the past over Discord I've seen is people saying, if I have a lead for a brownfield site, is there any commission, or how would I earn from a brownfield site if I don't own it? Is one question I've seen people ask.
Well, I mean, like, I cannot directly say or suggest any type of business model, but when you sign up with a brownfield on the helium.com plus, when we guide you through that process, you get all the way to the site to be enabled, then you have rewards the flow. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward for whoever is the quote unquote the broker in that deal to strike a deal with the venue that wasn't able to to do like splitting rewards and things like that. It's not any different than the hotspot. The only difference is that the hardware is already there, but the type of business arrangements are pretty much the same, similarly to the one that you can do also. Also with that. I have a question here. I see a question that tell me where to put the hotspot is only being asked because people keep deploying at bars, restaurants, and other public locations. 6 months later, those locations are still not selected. Look, is true. It is very possible that locations are not being selected for a various amount of reasons. In general, if it is in a public area, I can say that it will happen. Remember, we have a pretty big network, and the carriers can only accept on a bi-weekly basis, let's say 500 to 600 hotspots at a time. So the way they selected this, it is the way it is. So I don't think there is anything wrong. If the hotspot is in good internet connection with good skyhook, good location data, so we can trust, and then get submitted to the carrier, then eventually will be picked up. But anyway, I think someone said contact support. I think is a great thing, because it will allow us our support to dig into the specific hotspot just in case there is something that prevented the hospital to end up into the queue for the carrier. So if you have any doubts around this, just please, yes, contact support. We'll give you the green light in terms of like eligibility.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Thanks for the questions, everybody. Going on now to what's going to happen in the future regarding deployments and HIPs and governance. Mad Ninja, could you give us an update on your new HIP 144?
Yeah. So HIP 1. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, thank you. HIP 144 came as a result of both the number of the amount of gaming that is going on the network. Tried to catch that early before it spirals into a big problem, as well as the introduction of data only or brownfield hotspots in the mobile network, which are incredibly cheap to generate. And essentially, this is trying to tackle the the incentives to game by making it a bigger cost to get caught gaming. And the way that's done is by creating or proposing a rewards escrow that is basically a rolling 30-day window of rewards, i.e., the proposal says, as a hotspot owner, you get to claim rewards for day 31. So the first 30 days, anytime a new day of rewards comes in, it got pushed into the back of a 30-day queue, and the first one of those 30 days, so the oldest one, which is by then 60 days old or 31 days old, sorry, gets pushed out and is claimable. So we sort of split the structure in two. One of them is the earnings that you have been rewarded, and the other set is the earnings that are claimable, or the rewards that are claimable. And those two are different, and there's this constant 30-day window of rewards that is at stake if you get caught gaming. There are two parts that go into this. One of them is the ability to actually ban a hotspot, and that's going into next month's HRP. As just and then the mechanism for escrow would be coming in a future HRP once this HIP is sort of talked through and analyzed with the community to see everything works. The escrow is going to be would be used for all hotspots or all mobile hotspots initially. We can talk about whether this is amenable to IoT at some future stage. I understand the IoT working group so far has indicated that it's not really appropriate for the IoT network to be tackling this right now, which is fine. Like, it's no problem at all. And on the mobile side, we believe this is a useful change. But it tries to address existing deployers essentially using their rewards to like pay out hosts or other operating costs that they may have, by essentially saying your escrow window starts for new deployer starts right away when the hotspot is onboarded. But for existing deployers on the network, as soon as this HIP is activated, there is a 90-day window, as written in the HIP today, that allows them to essentially like save up enough to cover the gap of 30 days that will go into effect after that, where the escrow is being collected. So essentially, if your hotspot is cloud gaming, your hotspot will get banned. That is a Nova decision as a hardware. It's in the terms and conditions of the hotspot. But as a network, where this HIP is proposing that we burn those 30 days of escrowed rewards when the hotspot is confirmed gaming, and it's very clear and obvious that they are gaming. If there's any uncleared, or if it's not clear that the hotspot is gaming, the HIP proposes that a escrow period may get extended out to allow the community and Nova to sort of do deeper research into the hotspot and potentially correct it with the deployer. After which any overage would be released if the hotspot is cleared, and if they're caught gaming, then there is a larger escrow that will get burned at that time. I'm going to stop there. I think that's probably a good enough capture for now. Back over to you, Waveform. I don't know if you're muted. Trying to say something.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted at that point. Okay, yep.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Mark. Now for Hashcode and Noah, can we cover what's going to be in the next HRP piece that's probably not being, I think there are some parts of it that's not being covered already.
Yeah, I think it's mostly been covered. This HRP, we've just put the Anchor 31 upgrade and Solana upgrade because it's actually a good deal of work. And aside from that, mostly just chasing down bug fixes and using a lot of the stuff that we set up last HRP with TuckTuck so that we can add automation features. But we don't really need any HRP stuff for that because all the smart contract work is done. It's now just like UI work.
Okay, and Hashcode, is that going to vote in the next few days?
Yeah, I think we should be kicking off the vote tomorrow.
Yeah. And do you have any idea when 143, 144 would go to vote?
I want to confer with the authors, but if it is ready for tomorrow, we should do it.
Okay. And just a reminder to people that we've had lots of discussions on the voting requirement to receive the rewards for lockups. It is you must have voted in 2 of the most recent 4 votes. The most recent 2 are HIP 142 and the HRP that's just been deployed. So the next 3 will, if you must be voting in at least one of those if you've only voted in 2 previously. But there'll be some more explanations of this in the governance channel as to which votes you need to you are required to voting to maintain your rewards. And we've just been working out with Noah about the sequence, so that'll be more explained in the governance channel and then finally on the documentation website. But a reminder to everybody, you must delegate. You or your proxy must have voted in 2 of the most recent 4 votes to receive your rewards. If you are invalid at the moment, as in you've not received any rewards, then even creating a staking position you will not receive rewards until you have voted. I've been asking questions of Noah. I'm taking feedback from everybody in the last 2 weeks, and I'll be creating some documentation that explains this a lot easier for those who've been asking the questions. And don't know if anybody else has got anything they additionally want to say. Joey, do you have anything at all? If you want to come up. But otherwise, I think that's it for this month. The next one is scheduled for the 23rd of April. We may have to shuffle it around because of other events going on at that time, but we will be giving notice in Discord and on the other channels that we can. Joey, you are only summoned if you have anything you want to add to the call. I think that's it. Okay, thanks, Joey. Thanks, everyone who's contributed. Thanks for everybody for your questions, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.